LamarJackson is going to have to throw his way out of Pittsburgh. He's going to have to show, along with the coordinator and the receivers and the offensive line, that they can beat Pittsburgh throwing the football. As a starter, a full-time starter versus Pittsburgh, Lamar has a 1-2 record. In the game that we won, he threw 3 picks. Overall, he's thrown 4 touchdowns, 6 picks, averaged around 200 yards throwing the football. He's been sacked, I think it's 4 times, 5 times, and 7 times. So it's not just Lamar that has to do something different in the passing game. Pittsburgh is not going to let you run the football. They're gonna ask him, make him throw the ball to beat them consistently. They're going to line these tackles up at four eyes. They're going to collapse the B gaps, and they're going to have multiple spill players or contain players. And these guys inside are going to spill everything. They're just going to jam up these interior gaps, in particular the B gaps, and they're going to spill outside. And the coordinator has tried his best to become very creative. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't in the run game, as you see here. Collapsing into the B gap, also the opposite 4-eye as well. This is a nice looking play call. Duvernay's in motion, Ricard out in front. They fake a screen to him that freezes Watt, and they run QB counter. Get some nice blocks, but these plays are few and far between. The coordinator has to work overtime to beat this tight front and this defensive front here and be successful running the football. I'm spending time on this tight front just to illustrate how much work needs to go into getting something outside of this front effectively. You need 3 or 4 perfectly schemed up blocks, with these guys catching the spill and playing contain, and these guys up front gapping out the interior. They don't think the Ravens can beat them throwing the ball. Lamar under center, toss to the back, some really nice blocks and some really nice scheme here. Duvernay on his block, Ricard on his block, tight end coming across. And 72 does a good job taking that block over. I think 77, the center, leaves his block too soon. And he's concerned about Hayward. They end up kind of doubling and then redoubling. 78 does a good job climbing to the backside linebacker. Just really some nice blocks happening here. Ultimately, one guy ruins it. One guy defeats that double team. 57, I don't know who 57 is, but he keeps showing up. He's a problem. He's a nice player. Yeah, Bozeman needs to stay on that longer. Just misses being blocked. But you see how much has to be executed perfectly instead of really scheming something up in the pass game. And we're going to start looking at the pass game. Now, the coordinator and the offense does try to get outside of this front throwing the football. But I'm talking about some downfield stuff. Watch it again. Greg Roman takes the lion's share of the blame for offensive inadequacies. I think there's plenty of blame to go around, from the quarterback to protection to receivers running gangly routes. Let's look at Marquise here against this soft, deep zone coverage. I guarantee you at Oklahoma he'd be coached to cut this thing off, and he and the quarterback would be on the right page right there. He'd just run it out, or he would turn and sit this down. First down, take those yards. Perhaps that's a coaching point. This play is designed around Mark. The quarterback's got plenty of time. He's reading this deep safety, as is Mark. The linebacker actually does a nice job, and it turns out Mark's the only guy who is not open on this play. You get a back leaking. You get Ricard coming across the formation. Everybody's wide open. The quarterback ends up taking a sack here. We'll watch it from the ground angle as well. Again, it's first down. Play action. Good pickup of Watt. Mark's running the seam. Let's watch the quarterback. Quarterback's watching the safety. He's waiting on Mark. He's missing across the middle, and he's missing the back. This is the defender that these two routes are intended to conflict. No safety over the top. They're really, really conscious about Mark. Lamar is as well. You see this corner outside, flat-footed, eyes to Mark and the quarterback. Even before the ball's up, Lamar should be reading that defender. Clearly, he's got separation here. Marquise is going to blow right by that corner, and it's too late when Lamar sees it. Pulls the ball down, gets out of some traffic, gets a PI, and that's something. But you've got to make Pittsburgh pay in the pass game. You've got to when you have these opportunities. This is how lazy the Steelers are in defense when defending our pass game. Lamar's really centered in on Mark. He's not reading the outside defender, and the defender doesn't seem to mind. You know, he's just going to drive on the Mark route when Lamar gets rid of the football. You know, anytime you point out something negative about Lamar, you know, there's likely to be backlash. But he's got to play better against Pittsburgh. He's got to throw the ball. They don't think he can beat them. I guarantee you, heart of hearts, in their locker room, they don't think he can throw the ball consistently enough to beat them. Empty set, Pittsburgh in Tampa 2, and just really sloppy. I know this isn't coached. Can't be. They can't want these two guys hanging out in the exact same sit. There's no way. I just don't understand these routes. Marquise is just kind of drifting and then turns and runs an out. The bottom of our screen, this is a running back. I don't know why he's not running a vertical here, just screaming down the sideline. You can see how Andrew-centric the Steelers are. And then Lamar turns nothing into something. Brought up the idea of options or sight adjustments by the quarterback and the receiver. You see Bateman motioned out of a bunch. Zero safety help over the top. And Marquise should have the option to run a go here. And the quarterback should let it rip, let it fly. And I can only assume that that's something that's not being preached in the practice rooms. As I said earlier, I know for a fact that Marquise was doing this stuff at Oklahoma. This is a nice matchup he ends up with here. So the corner falls off and picks up Bateman. He ends up with a safety. You've got to have these sight adjustments built in, and you got to have them repped up between the quarterback and the receiver. Nice combination of routes to get Mark open. The back releases opposite to the flat. Quarterback makes a nice read, and the receiver just drops it. I think there's this idea by the coordinator that they're going to run all 11, where they can keep the same 11 guys on the field, run all kinds of different plays with the same personnel instead of different groupings, and in that sense, keep the defense on their heels. You've got Tomlinson and Ricard running routes on the plus side of the field. Now, the quarterback misses this seam. Ideally, he reads the drop of this outside backer. You can see the tight end look. That happens all the time. And 57 makes a nice play. 57 is showing up on film. Not a bad group of routes being run here against cover 3. And this is a good idea to check down. But the personnel is not ideal. Perhaps the biggest complaint I have as it relates to Roman is his usage of Lamar on 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 3, where he's always running him, exposing him to hits. And I don't know if it's an issue of trust, but he's going to have to trust that Lamar can find an open receiver on 3rd down and 3 or 3rd down and 5. He can't keep exposing him to these hits in week 7. This is a nice scheme, this 3-by-1 with the back releasing to the flat. Watch how Lamar kind of eyes that receiver and widens the defense. They keep Mark in to block or help block and then release him with Watkins across the formation, kind of clearing that space for him. Good movement in the pocket by the quarterback. Really well timed up. Really, you can tell it's very practiced play. It works great.